let's get into the box jump. It is going to go ahead and be paramount that we're working on this dynamic movement for your central nervous system. Now with that, it's all about that 2-foot jump, because that's what we're gonna be able to turn this plyometric into this really palpable and powerful tool to make sure we stay sharp neurologically. Now, we can go ahead and not worry about the box height. We can jump over a line and back to get that 2-foot jump. We can go ahead and jump on a plate, and we can slowly go ahead and build the height of the plate or whatever the target is until you're something at a height of a box, a plyometric, if that works out for you. Now, this is the perfect merriment of essentially aerobic capacity with building that explosive leg strength. So let's think about working to that point, and it's important to be able to go back and forth between the 2-foot jump and then maybe something if your ankles, your knees, your body just still feels a little fragile with the jumps, and alternating every time you do a box jump with something like a step up, right? Now, let's give you some more prescriptive items to be able to, like, where do I start from? Well, we talked about doing the 2-foot jumps into smaller ones, but what if we're now at the box, we're at something I just want to warm up, or I need strategies to go from something easy to something hard and maybe back again. Well, we can work on stepping up and then stepping down. At this point, aerobically, it's not going to be very hard. It's all going to be developing leg strength and getting our foot all the way up to that higher point. The next one is going to be stepping up and then getting used to the jump down to where we're gonna start to practice landing in this more cushed position. We're going to really practice making sure we're soft on our joints. Then from there, we're gonna go ahead and see if we can have that wind up ski jumper, good morning position, fire that posterior chain, be explosive, and then get to the top of the box. And then from there, we can go ahead and step down and kind of reserving that 2-foot jump for the up portion, not the down. Now this is where we're gonna pause, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about the standard and getting to the top. We wanna make sure at the top of the box, our knee and our hip ends at the tall position here, nice and locked out. And then your goal is, as you jump, is to try to find this hip once your feet hit the box at the highest position. Because we have a tendency sometimes to just tuck our knees into our chest, so we aren't really jumping the body up, we're simply just pulling our feet as high up into our chest and as quickly as we can. And the problem with that is we actually start to degrade and put way too much wear on our knees, right? There's a lot of rebounding and a lot of tension there. So you can go ahead and kind of test yourself out and give yourself a barometer as how good of a jump do I have through my hip and how explosive by pausing right when your feet hit the box, and wherever your hip lands, that is how high you are actually jumping your entirety of your body and not just lying to yourself that your knees are tucking. Now from here, let's go ahead, let's talk about a little bit more try-hard tips, getting a little bit more intense, moving a little more quickly. That's where you're gonna wanna go ahead and think about jumping up. We got that explosiveness, and then we're gonna jump down, but we're gonna rock into that good morning, and then without pause or stutter, we're gonna jump right back. Right? And then you can go ahead and just start to go back and forth. Amy's doing a good job having a little bit of a pause, but eventually you can cut that pause out, and you're literally going to go ahead, find that position, and jump right back up. Now, pause, coach, right? You're doing great. That is the fastest version of a box jump if you want to go ahead and make sure that your Achilles, right, everything on the posterior chain is not gonna get a sudden shock load, right? Because you're absorbing it in that good morning and you're able to be explosive on the way back up. That's how you go wicked fast and how you are at the, you could say, safest position without having to use your joints, your connective tissue to speed up the movement, right? Now, what I'm talking about is rebounding, where when you're at the top of the box and you jump down, you're using the connective tissue to essentially stretch, and then in that moment of stretching as far as it can, it wants to snap back into position, and you're using that tension of wanting to snap back to essentially launch yourself back up. So you're moving faster, but technically the amount of musculature that you're using is less. But you just want to be careful and make sure things are stretched out and you're loose as you can. Like if you're on the top of the box and you press forward and you can easily get essentially your butt to your heel and your knee is driving forward of your toe, you're not gonna really need to worry about connective tissue snapping or really straining. But if you're having a hard time with that, like right now, like this is kind of like, I would say I'm like, you know, no man's land, right? I'm like the butt can't really get to the heel right now. The knee's barely going over the toe. Like ankle's a little tight, right? Maybe the knee, maybe hip's a little tight, maybe not the best thing for me, right? If I'm way back here, I'm like, oh, this is straight. Like that's a no-go, right? So, but where Amy's at, that is like, feel free, try to practice it, right? It should be something that is the maximum try hard and should only really be brought up, in my opinion, when you're having a fun race with a friend or you're at a local fitness competition and you're just trying to go ahead and get that extra edge on somebody because you are using the least amount of musculature, which means you're really building skill rather than overall strength. Have a good one.